We now move into session 6, which focuses on a key tool for enabling energy transition, creating market enablers and sustainable public procurement policies. This important session has also been curated by CLASP. Public procurement, in particular, holds immense potential. By embedding sustainability and efficiency into government purchasing decisions, we can drive innovation, ensure quality standards, and mainstream green cooling solutions across states and sectors. In this session, we'll hear from experts and policymakers on what it takes to build robust ecosystems that reward performance, sustainability, and impact, turning market barriers into enablers. And with that, I welcome our distinguished speakers. Moderating this session, we have Nishant Patra, Senior Associate from CLASP. Welcome, Nishant. Our speakers include Aarti Nain from UNEP India, Ashish Jindal from SE for All, and Pankaj Bansal from ESL. Please give them a round of applause. We have another speaker joining us for this session. I'll let Nishant introduce him. Thank you.
Hi, I would also like to welcome Mr. Pradyumna Podar, who represents the ceiling fan industry. Yes, please welcome.
Requesting everyone to please take their seats again. We are starting with session number 6.
Good afternoon and a very warm welcome to everyone present in the room today. I'm sure a lot of numbers and statistics have been thrown around since this is the cooling coalition since yesterday, but I'm going to throw around some important statistics, numbers anyway, just to kind of reinforce the messaging. So India's energy demand is rising rapidly, with primary energy supply up by more than 50% and electricity consumption doubling in the past decade. Demand is projected to triple by 2050, highlighting the urgent need to scale energy efficient technologies, especially in the cooling sector, the cooling products. So cooling is a key driver of this trend, with demand projected to rise eightfold in the next 2 decades. Within this, the demand for cooling products is expected to quadruple in the coming decade. This again underscores the need to scale energy efficient cooling appliances. And some of the cooling products which are very prevalent in India, such as air conditioners and ceiling fans. So if we, for example, if we take the case of ceiling fans, I believe it's the most prevalent cooling product across India, with more than 90% households relying on them for cooling, and it contributes to almost 40% of India's residential electricity consumption. So this just goes to show the scope that we have in terms of the energy savings that can be achieved by just merely replacing these appliances, cooling appliances, with their efficient counterparts, right? While there are policies at both national and sub-national level. For example, at the national level, there's BEES SNL program that's been there for quite a long time. And at the sub-national levels, there's the State Energy Efficiency Action Plan that's being widely adopted by various states. However, the uptake of these efficient cooling appliances still remains low. Some of the market-driven measures like demand aggregation and bulk procurement really have the potential to accelerate adoption by reducing costs and increasing accessibility. I feel demand aggregation and bulk procurement are a very underappreciated and unexplored tools, as they really can provide the scale to put cooling appliances like efficient cooling appliances like ceiling fans and air conditioners into your local retail stores at very affordable prices. So with this session, we aim to explore how demand aggregation and procurement strategies and related market mechanisms can boost the uptake of energy efficient cooling products across India. So now, having set the context, I would like to request our esteemed panelists to please introduce themselves.
Thank you, Nishant. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Pradyumna Poddar. Pradyumna is a tongue twister. You can call me Poddar. Pradyumna happened to be Krishna's son. So people find it difficult, especially in North India. I've got more than 38 years of corporate experience, and my association with fans is for more than 2 decades. I have worked for organizations like Usha International, Evils India, and I was also the chairman of IFMA, which is Indian Fan Manufacturers Association. Hopefully, I should be in a position to contribute in this discussion, and it was nice on Nishant's part to have invited me. So that's where we are. Thank you.
Thank you, Nishant, for having me here. I'm Pankaj Bansal. I'm representing EESL. So EESL is a company which comes under Ministry of Power. So I'm having almost more than 15 years of experience. I worked with EESL from the very initial stage when we were forming some of the programs which later becomes the largest program in terms of energy efficiency, like Ujala program, street lighting program, then probably EV smart meter program. And I also worked with the Saudi government and UAE government from deputation from ESL to frame some big programs, the nationwide programs for Saudi Arabia and UAE. Looking forward for the contribution. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, and welcome back again. So thank you for this opportunity. So my name is Ashish Jindal, and I work for SE for All, Sustainable Energy for All, which is a body under UN, formed under UN. And we basically work for our mission under SDG 7, where doubling the energy efficiency and cooling is one of the key area. Considering our work in various states, we are working on it. We will discuss, I'll share the light around it. But as a past experience, since I was involved with ESL, EDB, contributed in various procurement programs in India and outside India. And this is one of the key, you can say, discussion, I think. And I think rather than us as a panel, I think let's be more collaborative in thinking what exactly our learnings and what we could learn and get out from our discussion. But yeah, happy to be here. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, class, for this opportunity. I'm Aarti Nain. I'm an architect by profession, so a bit of an outlier in this panel. I am currently advising United Nations Environment Program or the India Cooling Program, and right now I'm focusing more on non-active cooling in buildings and cities. But otherwise, in the past, I have also worked with ESL on their super efficient air conditioning program and building energy efficiency program, and also worked with Bureau of Energy Efficiency and other government departments on energy efficiency in buildings and cooling. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone in the panel, for introducing yourself. So now, without further ado, I would like to deep dive into the session, touching upon some of the key points with respect to this very important topic. And of course, I would love to start with ESL, who has basically been around executing these demand aggregation and bulk procurement initiatives for a very long time. And in fact, I think 4 of us have been associated with ESL in the past. At the same point, there was a bit of an overlap also, I feel. So as the questions for you, Mr. Pankaj. So ESL has led some of the most impactful procurement-driven energy efficiency programs for a plethora of products, including ceiling fans, air conditioners. It started out with Ujala, continued with the Street Light National Program, and now, I think very recently, a couple of years back, you executed one of the largest tenders for BLDC ceiling fans. So can you walk us through ESL's experience with using these demand aggregation and bulk procurement tools to transform markets for these efficient cooling technologies. And if you can just talk to us about some of the key learnings, both in terms of the challenges and the impact that it has created.
Thank you, Nishant. So I'll just give some background of what are the basically few elements which are required to scale up the program. So if you see the India's journey towards energy efficiency, so what we have contributed, it's not about the price reduction. It has actually reshaped the industries, enabled energy access, and probably we have given some of the proven business model, which has not been adopted by states, but also globally. So the interventions which we see probably, we have shown the market at how the public procurement can become a market maker, not just the cost cutter. So the programs which has been scaled up in the past, including the LED one which we talked about, and recently we are working for AC program and also the fan program. So we have found that three elements which are very much required for to scale up any program. That's the first one is that demand aggregation, which probably will give you the unprecedented scale. And second is the tech deployment. So at least probably you will provide the appliances or the equipment which are the latest and in terms of technological enabled devices. And the third one is the proven business model, which is the key for the past programs, which is actually scaled up very largely, be it like Ujala, be it like Street Lighting National Program, Smart Meter Program, and other programs. So we see that AC basically, if you see, because the consumers are like individual consumers. So we are targeting to the industries or to the large consumers. We can probably make some investment from our side and get the revenue or get the annuity based out from the savings also. But for the individual customer, it is very difficult to give or to give any kind of a proven model through which we and somebody else can invest into the capex part. So that's the only challenge here. But we see that if probably the communication, which is very much required to communicate to the individuals, because that is which is missing in the past. We probably very few in numbers who are aware of that what exactly the SLN program rates and what is the star labeling program and how much AC can save you annually if you go and switch for the 5-star AC rather than 3-star AC. So this is what we are trying to bridging the gap, but it's something which required the government also to be pushing. I think we are working with Bureau also to at least work for some of the programs through which we can at least propagate to the states and probably to the district level, at least to aware them what is the benefits and advantage for the 5-star ACs. So these are basically the things, but the challenges here, which I see probably is model, then probably the communication part which is missing, and there is some if we see about the campaigning and all, so it requires huge amount of initial capex also, which probably we have to fund it and choose it from one of the sources, either with the bureau or by state or by the ministry.
Thank you, Mr. Pankaj. I think you touched upon some very important points. So just building on that, since ESL has had a very extensive experience, working across different sectors. You work with PWD, CPWD, all your national level PSUs. So what role do you see for these public agencies in terms of public procurement in mainstreaming energy efficient appliances into government procurement systems and infrastructure projects? And I think I'll be very interested in knowing opinion from each of the panelists here on this particular question. We can start with Mr. Pankaj.
Thank you, Nishant. So if you look at the public procurement of any developing country, so we a country used to contribute around 15 to 20% of the total GDP if we talk about the entire, including state and the central public procurement system. So what I see is the state departments, including the central government departments, they have to build up some specific, some sort of scope or for energy efficient appliances, through which at least, because they are the one who are the regular buyer of it, right? Because an entity like ESL, we used to aggregate the demand, including many of client to be on board, and freezed on the specification, scope and everything. So at least it can touch upon all the consumers by and large. But if we talk about CPWD, PWD or the state agencies, so they are doing it on a regular basis, but they were missing out the element of the energy efficiency earlier. So we are working with them, with the states, including SDAs are also in place. So they are helping us out to work at least to aware the state government agencies, because they are the basically extended arm of Bureau and supporting ESL also, to build that at least in their procurement policy. So at least the energy efficiency appliances can be a part of the procurement for the state agencies.
Sir.
See, as far as the public procurement is concerned, or the bulk purchases, the way I want to put it in a very simplistic manner, that plays, or that channel plays a very, very important role for all the appliances, for all the categories. Now, if I talk about fans, because fans is an integral part of this entire cooling action plan. And as I've coined it, Indian fan manufacturers have been keeping India cool for more than 8 decades. Now coming back to this bulk purchases, whether it is through ESL or any state government or any central government, or as a matter of fact somebody like Indian Railways, the point which I would like to make is, yes, of late there is a lot of focus on efficiency. But having said that, somewhere we go back to the old method of evaluating the product or the brand basis the L1, which I think is becoming a major stumbling block. Because most of the initiatives, if I talk about fans, that's what I'm talking about, that, under the guise of efficiency, we are encouraging, we are allowing a lot of substandard products to be available in the marketplace through these bulk purchases. In the process, what is happening is the customers are getting absolutely disgusted. They feel that no, this new product or this new technology is no good, because I am forced to call the technicians practically every quarter. So it is good, no doubt, it makes a huge amount of difference. But having said that, the parameters need to be well defined, wherein one is very, very clear that at the end of the day, the entire ecosystem benefits, the country benefits, the brands benefit, and the customers who would be ultimately using that product also benefits. So, they are doing an excellent job. What ESL is doing, or what Indian Railways is doing, or whatever XYZ is doing. But they are doing a part of the job. They are not doing a complete job. That's what I have to say as far as this bulk purchases are concerned.
Thank you. So I would like to add 3-4 things. One is on ESL point on, for example, what were the key things which lead to success, for example, in terms of Ujjwala, adding to Pankaj point. One was also on the political leadership. I think that was the key when it was launched in 5th January 2015, where we used to discuss a lot of, you can say, that this incandescent phase out will happen by 2030, and we'll say maybe the volume of incandescent in CFL was huge. So I think the leadership has taken this as a challenge, and when we were working at ESL, so we were very motivated every week, you can say, we used to have events in any part of the district or anything where this program is launching. So, and third is the industry participation. Industry participation and industry collaboration was the utmost importance around it. So this was around this. Now, when we design any such sort of procurement, any such, for example, for ceiling fan or room air conditioners, for example, we have done 5.2 ISAR, 5.4 ISAR now with ceiling fan. I think the most important thing are two. One is, there are two type of, for example, a new product or an old product, a replacement. For a new, labeling is taking care and the awareness is going to help a lot. But for the old, we have a market instrument, we are talking about public procurement and others. But we need to understand how the sale is happening. For example, if I share about room air conditioners, still 75 to 80% of sale is happening through retail channel, which are large retail and smaller retails, right? And these are huge in numbers, and this has happened through the incentive program which is built towards the brand. Now, until we basically educate or create some ripple effect around it, they will not see that impact around replacement. But when we talked about procurement, to the likes of, for example, ESL program or other programs, it could be DISCOM, it could be the large scale institution, I think these bidding documents are very helpful to prepare and to have such sort of a template. For example, I remember when we done this 5.4 ISAR, we have also introduced a green refrigerant which is having a GWP lesser than a low GWP 750. So all those things were built, and this has helped a lot for lot of, you can say, procurer even through GEM, because most of the, you can say, government procurement is happening through GEM. So that has actually helped a lot. But going forward, I think it is very important we have to demystify whatever the market share, let's say out of total room air conditioners, let's say 10% into procurement or 8% into procurement, how basically you can say we could work for utilities, how we could work with ESCOs, how we could work with, so there is like lot of those things to be demystified, to be worked upon, which and how to be basically work with industry, because lot of those bid happened has missed lot of brands, for example. And this is a brand conscious market. This is a very, you can say, market which trust quality. So all those things is very important while we are working around it. And I think while we basically find those answers, I think this will all help. For example, as Podaji was saying, not only L1 bidding, but how quality, trust, and product and service could be delivered, right? Yeah, thank you.
I'll just add 2 points, and this was based on my experience. One is actually following up what Mr. Pudar said, a very important point is L1, but to that, after sales service of a product, quite often I found that either the aggregator is overcommitting, they are offering too much in after sales service, or it is too little. In the former, when you're not able to deliver, or your vendors selected through L1 or whatever are not able to deliver, then your reputation suffers, and of course the program suffers. So it is very important to match the market, in terms of your after sales service, and ensure they are delivered. So either through penalties on your vendor or whatever. It is equally important, and sometimes for certain customers more important than the efficiency and the quality of the product, especially for consumers who themselves are customer facing entities. For example, banks. They will not compromise on after sales services of a bulk procured system not delivering to their demand. Lastly, when you do demand aggregation, be very careful from where you collate the demand. It is very important. It is, in my experience, it was very important to work with institutions and agencies that have uniform procurement systems within their entities. For example, banks, while some of them say we have central procurement policies, centralized at the center, quite often their regional headquarters are allowed a lot of autonomy in changing that and choosing their own vendors. So while the central department or whatever, the central procurement cell commits, so yes, this is our demand, 1 lakh ACs, 2 lakh fans or whatever, when it actually comes to getting that delivered, you face a lot of challenges. So 2 nuances which I think should be carefully looked at. Thank you.
I think all interesting points. I think I remember we were chatting a while back, talking about how these public procurement agencies typically do not consider efficiency or sustainability during the initial phase of procurement, while we were talking about how sustainability and efficiency is the very first criteria when you typically move forward in procurement. So in your experience working across India as well as abroad, how important it is, do you feel that the public procurement agencies here in India have to kind of inculcate and incorporate this kind of criteria wherein they give the most importance to sustainability and efficiency while going for procurement of efficient cooling appliances or any appliances for that matter?
Uh, so I worked more in India first and foremost, maybe for 3 years outside of India on procurement. What I did observe the difference is sometimes you can outwit the L1 system if your baseline is very good, not just in terms of efficiency, that even the worst product within that pool that you get from L1, even that is a very decent product. Now coming to this, with when you work with government agencies who want to adopt sustainable public procurement system, that is where the difficulties lies in changing that mindset. You know, how do you define that minimum energy efficiency, green, climate friendliness, or whatever you wish to define? I think that becomes very important. And also now, because a lot of focus is on end-of-life disposal in public procurement, especially in sustainable public procurement, that also needs to be inculcated within the procurement norms. I hope I've answered that question, or?
Yes. I'd like to move on to Mr. Podar now. So you've had leadership roles at Usha and Havells. So can you share some insights into how procurement policies, especially bulk procurement policies, have kind of influenced your production choices, technology upgrades, and market trends in recent years with respect to efficient ceiling fans? And you know, I'll give an example of ESL here, because with every new tender they tend to upgrade the efficiency standard, service value in the case of ceiling fans. So how does industry like thinks about it and factors in all of this, the public procurement initiatives that are happening around efficient ceiling fans?
Before I answer the question directly, you know, I would just like to take 2 minutes in telling you that as far as the corporate is concerned, you know, they would like to do which is going to do something which is going to be beneficial for the country. So if I talk about ceiling fans, without naming any brand, efficiency is the key. I'll just take 2 extra minutes. Many of us sitting in this room may not be aware the quantum of ceiling fans which get sold in this country. Any guess? Okay. On an average, 7 crore ceiling fans get sold. When I talk about 7 crores, I'm talking about only the organized sector. You can easily add another 20% to it. So 7 crore ceiling fans getting sold in this country. And today as we speak, and mind you, star rating or efficiency became mandatory post January 2023. Before that, ceiling fans have been sold in this country for more than 8 decades. So the guesstimate is that today as we speak, there may be more than 60 crore ceiling fans operating in this country, which are basically guzzlers. In any household, one would be surprised to know that 20% of the electrical consumption is on account of ceiling fans. Taking this into consideration, before it became mandatory that, you know, star rating, some of the organizations went ahead and developed ceiling fans by changing the slot design. Incidentally, the slot design of an induction motor was not touched after 1978. They changed the slot design and they came up with a ceiling fan wherein the consumption came down from 75-80 watts to 50 watts or 52 watts. Then they worked further and then they made it 40 watt. After post January 2023, a fan which was consuming 40 watt in induction became a 3-star fan. Now, the point which I'm trying to make is that the corporate, you know, were quite aware that what is going to be the need of the hour, what they can do to contribute to the country or to the society in general. But the problem was, or the problem continues, that when it comes to purchases, when it comes to bulk purchases, the awareness is not there. You know, we swing from 0 to 180. So suddenly the mandate was, no, it has to be efficiency, efficiency. How is efficiency defined? Nobody took the pains of informing the end customer or informing people that efficiency does not mean only 5-star. Efficiency starts from 1-star. Let's start taking baby steps. Because as your efficiency improves, the cost of the fan also increases. It is unfortunate that in a country like India, where 25, 30 years back, the cost or the price which a customer would pay for a pair of shoes would be around 1,000 to 1,500 rupees. And today, a good pair of shoes would be 5,000, 6,000. But a ceiling fan, 30 years back, used to be sold at 1,100 rupees. And people expect, customers expect the same price. So nobody is trying to educate the customer, saying that, you know, you should opt for something good, for something better, for something which is technologically more advanced. That awareness, in the last discussion also, it came to communication. The need of the hour is that the consumers, the customers of this country has not been told that, you know, there is something called star rating. There is something called efficiency. You need to evaluate yourself, which is not happening, and that's the reason the pain is being felt by the corporates. Coming back to your question. The corporate is ready, but at what cost? When it comes to efficient product or when it comes to efficient ceiling fans, the first thing which everybody is tom-tomming is 5-star. But as per the definition, the minute we go for a 5-star ceiling fan, in today's context, it has to be a BLDC. What happens in BLDC? It is more electronic in nature. What happens in BLDC? As a country, we go and handcuff ourselves with one of the neighboring countries. We are at their mercy. On one hand, we want Atmanirbhar. On one hand, we are saying that make in India. On the other hand, we are saying it has to be a 5-star. It's total contradiction. Okay, fine, 5-star, let it be a good quality 5-star. But that also we are not specifying. So when it comes to mass production, mass requirement, they say that no, we want a 5-star fan which is going to be costing X. Now how does the corporate meet that requirement? You want to give a good quality fan. You want to give a good quality PCB. You want to give a good quality magnet. You don't want to compromise. But when it comes to these mass purchases, you know, you'd be shocked to know that in one of the last tenders of Indian Railways, the L1 was GST paid 1474 with 3 years guarantee. The cost of making a good BLDC fan is almost equal to that. Now, how is it possible? The point which she was trying to make. So the challenge is, you know, we would like to keep pace with the changing requirement, with the changing need, but not at the cost of the bottom line. And, you know, I'm using this forum to say that the fan manufacturers, when it comes to efficiency, which they cannot attain at that cost, are bleeding. But if you do it in a very systematic and a nice manner, there are good induction motor fans, which may not classify as 5-star, but which would be 4-star. People are making headway. So that was my request to one of their directors, ESL, that, you know, we should talk about efficiency. We should not talk about any particular technology. And we should talk about today, if you are here, if you are at X, let us go to 2-star, 2X. I don't know whether I have answered your question.
Yes, I think you have, but I do have a couple of follow-up questions as well on this. Like you talked about induction motor fans and also we're anticipating, not anticipating, it's out there that the standards for ceiling fans are being upgraded by one level starting January 2026. So, so what's your thought on what would this particular upgrade do to the induction motor fans market?
Induction motor is the answer as far as India is concerned. And it is not going to be a challenge. As a matter of fact, I wouldn't even think twice to tell class pen B that instead of having a ratcheting in this manner, straight away say that with effect from, let's say, 1st of July 2026, the current 3-star becomes 1-star. And stop it at that. Point is that somewhere, you cannot sit on the fence. You have to be very, very clear. And then once you do that, the entire ecosystem would be, on their toes. Now, what are the challenges? You might come back, you might just turn around and say that what stops you from coming up with a good 3-star fan? But who are the takers? Because today the end customer feels a pankha to pankha hi hai. He is not bothered. When that marketing director, I call those 1,75,000 retailers selling fans in this country as the marketing directors. So they will go and tell, नहीं अभी गवर्नमेंट ने तो मोदी सरकार ने बोल दिया अभी सिर्फ 5-star न तो ये पंखा लो. So they feel that Modi Sarkar has made 5-star mandatory. And when it comes to 5-star, it is BLDC. But fact of the matter is that there is 1-star, there is 2-star, there is 3-star, there is 4-star, and there is 5-star. And today, the 20% which I said are the guys who are selling without any star rating, without any star level, without any BI certification. So what is that we are doing? We are sitting in AC rooms, we are having conferences, we are meeting, we are putting our heads together, but what is actually happening at the ground level? I'm just back from Siliguri and I went and met a guy there. He says that I'm happily selling this non-star, this non-BIS fans, and I'm selling more than 1 lakh fan. There are fans which is coming from Bangladesh, without any packing, just a motor and 3 blades being sold at 300, 400 rupees. So the central government, the state government, the entire ecosystem has to wake up to the fact that, there is something which we need to go and involve the customers. Till that point of time, nothing is going to be happening. Communication, communication, communication. And induction motor is the answer. Because the minute, point is that efficiency has to be technology agnostic. We cannot say that, we are going to attain efficiency with this technology or that technology. Beyond induction and beyond BLDC, why can't we think of a third technology? We take pride in saying that, we have the best minds, we have the best engineering minds, we have the best technological minds. There are 2 types of SRM technology. Who is working on that? Are we involving the academia? Why is it that, in the last session we were discussing the 5-star and 3-star ACs, but you would be surprised to know they didn't mention it, surprisingly, that the more of 5 stars, the more of efficiency, the more of going and handcuffing yourself again with that country. So how do we change that? Sorry, थोड़ा सा भावुक हो रहा हूँ.
Yes. So I think you bring out a very interesting point. So in terms of as a response to this rising efficiency standards, this puts a lot of, I get it puts a lot of pressure on the manufacturers to comply, both in the case of ceiling fans as well as air conditioners. So so do you feel that in some ways or in any which way bulk demand sort of alleviates this pressure on the manufacturers to comply from a business perspective as well as a technological perspective, and this is open for...
I don't think so. Bulk purchases, as far as fans is concerned, this channel contributes to only 10 to 12%. So as he was saying, that 80 or 70 to 75% is still with the general trade. That's why I'm repeatedly saying that we have to hold the right end of the rod. And that is reach out to the end consumers, reach out to the customers. And there cannot be a better way than incentivizing them and saying that you please change your guzzlers, जो आपके घर पे लगे हुए हैं, जो दादाजी चला रहे थे, नानी चला रही थी, उसको चेंज करिए, आपको फ़ायदा होगा, देश को फ़ायदा होगा. Till this message doesn't go to the end customer, we will keep on discussing and it's going to be a struggle.
So, very rightly pointed out that awareness is one of the very important factor. There is no doubt about it. But I'll just take a slightly a different way of submission. Like if we talk about the 5-star uptake and 3-star uptake, so until and unless you don't have the enough demand, right? So manufacturer will sell only the product which is currently in demand in the market, right? Or probably which can afford by the normal consumers. So if you make the 5-star as par as the 3-star or 2-star, if you have that volume, probably you can do it, because until unless demand doesn't comes, he will not probably will go for a manufacturing for a 5-star or so. So what we are trying to do and navigate to do is like basically we have written down to ministries, to the states, and the state is now making mandatory to the few departments that you have to procure only the 5-star fans. And we are now trying to aggregate the demand at least for the government department, because if I see the numbers, so at least 7 to 10% is probably the numbers which is being used by the in the government departments, including states and the center. So if we capitalize those demands, I'm sure that at least we'll have something in the market to at least the awareness will also go off for sure, because the numbers will increase, and if the numbers increase in the government sector, if the number increase in the numbers, then it probably will help the retail and other consumers also to understand more benefit of it, and the penetration will get slightly increased for sure.
So just to kind of reinforce the point that you just mentioned, basically it's the spillover impact of bulk procurement that kind of puts the appliances at an affordable price at the local retail store.
And just to add one more thing, like on Podarji's point, like earlier we came up with a tender for 5-star fan, but keeping in view and consideration and probably the feedback from the states, from the consumers, we'll try to enter into we'll bring it like one more tender of like 3-star fan. At least one can leapfrog from at least 0 to 3 and then 3 to 5, because directly switching over is impacting the price, which probably he cannot afford. So we are trying to bridge that gap also. At least that 3-star can be in place, and probably the quantity the numbers will get increased, and then moving them towards 5-star. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, so I just want to bring 2-3 points here in addition to what we are discussing. So one is, if we learn from Ujala, I think I remember it very clearly that there was a demand which we have asked to the industry, and they have reduced the prices. So some sort of a roadmap, if we could bring in advance, for example, for next 5 years, what is going to be our demand, right? What is going to be our replacement program? That could be really helpful in advance to the industry in terms of planning it very well. Because right now it's not only appliance. LED was the appliance. Right now we are talking about it as a service or as a complete program. Because what is happening is, if you see a ceiling fan or maybe room air conditioner, it require installation, commissioning, deinstallation, then maybe a replacement, maybe a logistic around it. So there is a whole lot of, you can say, ecosystem that is required to be around it. And until you have that strengthen of the ecosystem, for example, if you buy an AC, and if that AC is not properly installed in the time, for example, you demanded, and it is not properly resolved in terms of, for example, of your old AC, if it is not properly recycled in that manner. So we'll feel some sort of a trust going around, which will not actually be helpful for the program. So I think we have to think that how a complete ecosystem, complete system has to be built around, and we have to think differently. This is one. Now, secondly, since we are talking about retailers, we are missing, always in our discussion we miss them. How to include them as our change of agent is going to be key. For example, can they be a part of the bulk procurement, whatever we are doing, right? Can they basically be part of the program design? Because ultimately, that is where you will a customer would always feel a sort of a satisfaction level if some challenges happen. If you talked about online and everything, there are many examples. Even after buying any product, you will not get even service to the basic level. And we have seen a lot of data, for example, in BLDC and all, especially in North India. People are thinking about, like, for example, this is a problem in tier 2, tier 3 city, that this is going to create a problem, rather to switch over back to the old technology. So why to create these challenges or these issues? We have to think in terms of a roadmap. We have to think working with all at how this could be created, which could actually be helpful and win-win situation for all. Thank you.
This is based on my experiences. We are often taught that bulk procurement is, you leverage economies of scale to bring down costs. But what I've experienced, and my co-panelists may not agree with this, is that it is often a means of bringing in that technology and that performance level which was completely out of reach. With bulbs, I agree. We did a lot of cost differential. What the ESL program, I think in the first one, we achieved a price drop of 22%. But and again, I'm saying this is my personal opinion and assessment, but the bigger achievement was we crossed the 5.2 mark was what we achieved. We started with, I think, Ashish, in the second iteration, you went to 5.4 and 8, I guess. And I think that also should be seen, and bulk procurement programs should be designed with that in mind, that you might be able to bring a performance level that is completely unreachable in the market, and then in subsequent iterations or through sustainable public procurement, you can then try to scale up the adoption of such technologies. That nuance might be considered. And I'll tell you how it works is with UNEP did a study. Korea is one of the foremost countries in terms of a very advanced sustainable procurement. I don't know what is the number right now, and air conditioners is one of the products that they have put in their sustainable procurement. Of all the public procurement of ACs in the country, even despite this being one of the leading countries and a promoter of sustainable procurement, only 20% of the ACs were green ACs in about 6 years. So it's a slow process of letting the market, a lot of the market will still be the private sector market, as Mr. Poda was saying, but we have to start looking at bulk procurement more than just cost-cutting measure. It is also bringing in next level of technology.
One point which I would like to add here is that as far as the corporates is concerned, they are looking at such bulk purchases, especially someone like ESL, to create something or to garner that extra business. It should not be a shift of business. Case in point being that last time when his colleague Mr. Gupta, we were having a good round of discussion, and he said that we have got orders nearly 15 lakhs. But those 15 lakhs was basically, he was playing the role, or ESL was playing the role of an aggregator. Because independently, AP government was discussing with various manufacturers. Orissa government was discussing with various manufacturers. Okay, under certain school projects it was being discussed. So the point which we wanted to make as the industry is that what is that extra benefit or what is that extra business you are getting on the table? So what you have done is that you are saying that, okay, fine, you have requirement of 10, 10, 10, 10. I will go and negotiate on your behalf and I will talk about 100. So fact of the matter is that if I have to supply 10 to X, 10 to Y, then probably my price would have been better. But the minute it comes to, but at what cost? The minute, til se tel niklega. The minute for 100, I've been squeezed, I will definitely compromise on the quality. You cannot expect the company to, to operate on a negative margin, because we have got investors, we have got people, we are answerable. So it's a catch-22 kind of a situation, when it comes to such purchases.
I think it's a very interesting sort of a tussle between all the demand aggregators and the manufacturers. But anyway, moving on. So, Aarti and Ashish, since you're representing international organizations here, so I would like to pose this question to you. We can start with Ashish. So you mentioned you're working with the states in helping them adopt the State Energy Efficiency Action Plan, and there's also this State Energy Efficiency Index that has been created by BE. So in your experience thus far, uh, how do you feel like all these demand aggregation and bulk procurement tools factor in at subnational level, and how could they be, be helpful in contributing towards the larger energy efficiency goals?
Yeah, I think it's a very important segue, and I would share few examples since we are thinking how India could double its energy efficiency. So rather than working at central level, that is also we are doing, but at state level also we are working in 4 5 states. For example, to work how you can say those implementation could happen. Already we have state energy efficiency action plans for almost all states, but we would like to see the implementation. So one of the brilliant, you can say, framework which we are designing, and hopefully this will come true, and this is with working with EEEE, is on using state energy conservation fund as a payment security. So what we are doing is, for example, if there is and this is a pilot we are doing starting from the Kerala house in Delhi. And what we are doing is, for example, there are good amount of, not many in numbers, but around 5 to 10 good ESCOs who would like to bring their money and would like to work similar to the nature as ESL do. But since they can't do that big number, they need some sort of a, you can say, payment security. And states like Kerala and almost all states have energy conservation fund, which can be tuned in to basically give that support. So if that come through, there could be chances of investing more money, more program from the states, and this could lead to one of the, let's say, intervention or framework, whether we talked about at a you can say for a room air conditioners replacement or ceiling fan replacement or chiller replacement. So that is one. Secondly, we are also working on demand flexibility, and I think in last panel Yogita talked about it. Since demand flexibility talked about how at demand side more and more renewable could be bring, and more you can say during the off-peak time you can utilize more and more renewable and can actually offset. So in terms of cooling, for example, we are working both in centralized and localized options, which is like in localized like more of room air conditioners, where to the stress feeders, if we could basically run this DF program, and already we have one of the state championing with DF regulation, which says that first year of the total demand, around 1.5% of DF has to be happen. So now this values up to 450 to 500 megawatt for the Maharashtra. Now we are working with the utilities. Can we do some sort of a thermal storage program in the large building, where during the off-peak hours, we could use and convert that water into ice, and during the peak hours, it could be utilized for basically resolving them. Now this will give lot of issues around peak power, your network expansion and all this. So similarly on the localize also we are working. So I think the idea is not only replacement, while operating, how we could work efficiently and we could support, you can say, these operating to be efficient. Yeah, that is what we are trying to do. Thank you.
I think specifically in your case, so within the realms of sustainable procurement, so can you share any experiences, national or international, wherein any sort of technical assistance has helped shape procurement policies within the states or maybe at a national level to unlock large-scale adoption of energy-efficient technologies?
I think I could give a more relevant example from India. Is the I think the green AC conditioning program, AC conditioner program that UNEP did under its PAGE project with government e-marketplace, which is where we defined, we went a little beyond what ESL had defined in terms of efficiency and sustainability. We also looked at the life cycle impact. So how the product is packaged, how is it going to be disposed, the factory conditions under which it has been produced. We looked at all of that, and with GEM, we did place the air conditioner on the GEM, and it did see some success. It needs further support in terms of both technical assistance and financing to be taken up. In other countries, UNEP has also helped countries like, I think, Vietnam and Sri Lanka to connect their sustainable public procurement, especially of air conditioners, all to the NDCs. So that gives more weightage to sustainable public procurement. Right now, we have not really explicitly and very emphatically made that link that by doing this, you are feeding into your NDC commitment, NDCs. That I think where technical assistance might be needed. Apart from GM, I think we also need, as UNEP and all other entities who are working in this space, need to start focusing on how this is benefiting the country in meeting its international commitments also. That is going to give a nudge to both public procurement, sustainable public procurement, and bulk procurement.
Yeah, I think you bring in a very critical point here in terms of how it's absolutely necessary to integrate sustainable procurement within our public procurement ecosystem here in India. So with that, and in the interest of time, I would like to open the floor for Q&A for any of our panelists here. So please, if you have any questions, then yes.
Thank you very much, sir. For the ecosystem management, the cooling system depends on the ecosystem management, whether it's an organization or as SME sector or NGOs or any office. But the question is adaptation. Question is adaptation. He says about the ecosystem. We have the standardized BIS, environment management system for SMEs. International level पर है decent work and economic growth, sustainable development 8. But how many we are adapting the SME sector? तो क्वेश्चन है कि अवेयरनेस एसएमईज को भी नहीं है, कस्टमर को भी नहीं है, एनर्जी एक्सेस टू द कंज्यूमर राइट, एनर्जी एक्सेस टू द ह्यूमन राइट. तो एनर्जी एफिशिएंसी है, क्लाइमेट चेंज है, एनवायरमेंट, उसका जो को रिलेशनशिप है उसमें कहीं इंटरप्रेट है नहीं बरोबर कि उसको कैसे बैलेंसिंग किया जाए. क्योंकि एप्लीकेशन ऑफ सोलर एनर्जी की भी बात आती है. एप्लीकेशन सोलर एनर्जी का कितना एप्लीकेशन होता है. क्वेश्चन है कि जो अडेप्टेशन है उसको इनकरेज किया. मैं एक सजेशन दूंगा, जैसे गवर्नमेंट ऑफ क्लस्टर डेवलपमेंट अप्रोच है, उसके थ्रू एसएमईज को सेंसिटाइज किया जाए. वाटर कंजर्वेशन, एनवायरमेंटल कंजर्वेशन एंड एनर्जी कंजर्वेशन. तो एसएमईज बैक ए मॉडलिंग प्रोग्राम ऑन इकोसिस्टम मैनेजमेंट एंड कूलिंग.
In the interest of time, we'll take one more question and perhaps the panelists can answer those two together. Yeah. So requesting you to keep your question very brief. Okay, if there are no questions, then you can address this one.
So, sir, I think, thank you. I think this is a very important part, and I think I could relate it to one of our key like call from our Honorable Prime Minister Mission Life. I think everyone, and I think this coalition, when we are like sitting it here, we could work how a ecosystem or more and more these people could be also sitting next year here, or maybe during this journey, can we identify more and more these players who could be part, and through the mission life, because that is a very beautiful thing which is also gaining traction outside India also. Many of the countries are trying that through behavioral change, through small things, we could do wonders. So I think it's everyone, it's to everyone, and I think through these events and through these programs, more and more this thing could happen. Thank you.
Just to add Ashish point, like he, sir has rightly pointed out that cluster level workshop, especially for the SMEs, because wherever you go, they will find like a lot of SMEs into one cluster. So that interaction would be really something which will be creating more impactful programs for at least that specific cluster of SMEs. Thank you.
Yeah, just to add to what Ashish and Pankaj ji mentioned, I absolutely agree, sir. You mentioned very rightly that that awareness is of utmost importance. But I also feel the additional layer of reduced prices is kind of sweetens the deal a little bit more for the consumer to adopt these technologies. So yeah, at this note, we like to close this session. Thank you,
Thank
everyone
you,
in the panel.
Nishant.
Thank you so much.
And thank you to all the speakers for this important conversation. This conversation was extremely important to ensure that our conversations go outside of this room and become a reality.